We went to Puerto Rico in February, and I think you should too. I really enjoyed it, and my husband and I had the time of our lives for around 2 weeks. We landed in San Juan, and as you may or may not know, there is probably a wait for your car. Yes, 3 hours later, we ended up driving to our Airbnb, but first we checked in with the kids and we saw how horrifyingly cold and bad the weather was back in the Midwest. But in general, we were in San Juan, but this is Luquillo. Our Airbnb was wonderful, but our parking had a bit of a problem. They had said it was $15 a day. We pulled in the first exit, not the second of the building, and we ended up with $40 fee for 2 nights, $20 a night instead of $30. Not a big deal. 3 different locks to go through, 2 different stairwells, and finally we were in a lovely view Airbnb. We did enjoy that Airbnb. I would say, here it is raining off the balcony. That was amazing. But that the air conditioning unit was super loud, and then a lot of lights off of the back. So our rest wasn't anything to brag about, but our daytimes were fabulous. What a great view, right? Look at that rain coming down from our view on our little balcony. There's our little living room. There was a cute little kitchen. Here's some more rain coming down. You can tell we're from a drier area from the Midwest because we are impressed by rain. The next day we got up and we were about 15 minutes from the colonial area, and I did that on purpose because I didn't want to stay in the colonial area because of parking. But here is an amazing area that we visited. It's a park, and this structure, obviously used for many things and still used, really captivated us. Wow.
This is awesome. Miguel Grau, G-R-A-U.
Yep. Look up there. We have to put netting up there to protect from the bird poopies.
Bird poopies or something.
True. Trees also. This is a hell of a dance hall. I assume they have rallies and things in here.
Maybe they have
Concerts.
Mercado on weekends or something.
Concerts, I assume. I do love a public place. I have worked with a lot of nonprofits to build parks, and these parks in San Juan were simply amazing. On the other side of this wall was even more artwork. Our goal was the national park, and here we are. I can tell you that we were there 2 days before everything truly caved in with the Park Service and the Forestry Service. Between those 2 days, a lot of news was happening. We personally thanked every single person in a state park or forestry uniform that we met. We didn't say anything except, we really appreciate you and we've really enjoyed the park, or you'll see we're in the National Forest. You could feel their tension because there was a lot of news about possible cuts. And I'm sure they were affected. But you can see out here, right outside of this fortress in Puerto Rico, the National Park Service, you can see where the boats or ships, whatever you want to call those big cruise liners, dock. And here you can see the iguanas are favorites of the visitors, and I think of the Park Service. They hang out on the walls. I had one, he'll be coming up here, who really was visiting with me. This is the Pearl neighborhood. It is outside the walls, and it's really a historic neighborhood. They're doing some wall repair of the great walls that surrounded the community of San Juan, and we had a lovely meal right outside of the Pearl neighborhood. That building that has the flag painted on it is a hostel, we found out. Who let those two Midwesterns out of their cage because they're just dying to get in there. About graveyards, each of them, that we have to tell every time we see one. But the graveyard was also outside of the city walls. It is windy because of the ocean. And we had a few days that were even windy for these Midwesterners, but it was really wonderful weather all in all. There were a lot of locals out on a wonderful Sunday while we were there, and that grass is golf course grass, and yet it's just their natural grass there. But I wanted to record this beautiful approach to the other part of the fortress. Okay, now I get to complain a little bit. I got up early. We had no coffee in our Airbnb. Check before you land somewhere. Always ask. Oh, there was a coffee shop right downstairs, but I had to go down a bunch of steps. Paid $20 for coffee and a muffin, and go back up a bunch of steps, and I hadn't even had my coffee yet, and that's a lot for me. So always check. We ended up buying some coffee at the little store around the corner, which I'll show and tell that little tale of woe. But at the end of the park across the street was this gorgeous view. So after I had enough caffeine in my bloodstream, we went across and enjoyed the ocean, because that's why we go somewhere every February. It's our wedding anniversary. We go somewhere where there's ocean and there's warmth. And we'd never been to Puerto Rico before, so going and just standing and watching the ocean and drinking my coffee was a big deal. Later that day, we went to Ron del Barrito. It's a historic distillery for rum. It's boutique-y. They don't make a lot. They don't send a lot to America, but they send some. That's a barrel from the year I graduated high school. They age their rum quite a bit. That's a barrel that won't be opened until if the island becomes a sovereign nation. Here, our guide gave us a tasting. It was really a wonderful experience, and that's some pricey rum right there. I recorded my bartender making my drink. My husband has ordered a rum and coke, but I have ordered a rum old-fashioned made with coffee, and it is smoked. They had a more clever name for it, but it was amazing. And on top of everything was a bruleed coconut cream that topped it off, which is perfect for me because I am not able to have milk cream. So the coconut cream was delightful. I've been craving another one of these ever since we came back, but what a complicated process. And he was a super guy for letting me film his magic. Really great. He even at the end sprays something on top, and I asked him what it was, and he said it was a coffee perfume that they make. I cannot tell you how delightful this cocktail was. and I highly recommend their tour. It was a wonderful tour, and we really enjoyed it. Capped off our evening that day, and we took off for the rainforest area when we got back to our car. Gracias. That brings me to food. We ate at this Asian restaurant. It was amazing. Loved it. $100 for our meal. It was very modest what we ate, but $100 for our meal. We also ate at an amazing, I'll use the word again, it was Cuban restaurant. There it is. It was dark out. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the view, but that was our fault. It was our Valentine dinner, but it was really, really good. But it was also $100. I think it was worth more of the $100 than the other one. But I will tell you that we got the feeling that every meal eaten out in the San Juan area, if it was a sit down, was $100. The other thing was the only place to buy any kind of food was this little place, and it was $20 for our coffee. That was the interior. We did pick up a small container of ground coffee. It was $20. We drove then to Laquillo, and the next morning we ate brunch at a fusion restaurant that was also top drawer. The food was fantastic, but I'll tell you, it was only, with tip, $50 for us. And we ate a lot, and we both had a drink. So judge for your travel yourself. The groceries was very close to there, and we went ahead and got food for our 2 meals a day, and we decided we would only eat out 1 meal a day. This was our second Airbnb, and we spent 3 nights there. It was wonderful. It's a little boutique-y hotel made out of shipping containers, but I will tell you that we slept well, but you can hear the nightlife in the jungle. We were in the jungle, and you could hear the nightlife. But it was very modern and new, and it was lovely, and the air conditioner was quiet. But the frogs and the bugs and such and the birds kept us awake because they're not asleep at night in the jungle. Right down the road, about 4 or 5 blocks away, was the ocean. And again, we love a good view of the ocean. This was the day we were supposed to take our kayak tour from the ocean up the river of the estuary to the rainforest area, and we could not do it because those waves were too harsh. And instead, we drove into the national forest, and we did our kayak tour the next day. Again, we were very sad. We could feel the tension amongst the employees at the rainforest, but we enjoyed our time at the visitor center and then drove up into the forest. You can see the men at work sign because this is their low time. This is their slow time. You can see a lot of cars, but usually bumper to bumper, and they are fixing the roadway because it washes out. It rained about half the time we were there, and it's a dry season. It's a rainforest. The fauna is amazing, really. It's like it's like the plant department in Home Depot, home version.
Town's over there.
Yes, dear. So as you can see, there's more construction as we're driving up into the mountains, but I'm very worried about things like this, and you probably are too. If those employees have been laid off, or even a portion of them, that road work isn't going to happen, and these rainforests and other parks are going to be closed. You won't be able to get your vehicle up there if the roadway washes away and they're not able to fix it. So, but we did enjoy our trip, and it was plain beautiful and amazing. These national forests are treasures for our nation, and this one is exceptional. I wanted to show more of this shipping container boutique hotel. I say boutique because they don't call themselves boutique hotel, but I would call them that. It has a pool. It was a little chilly for me to jump in the pool that evening, but sitting in the hammock was fun. And then there's a area to eat, and you can see the little balconies for each unit. And on the other side are more sitting areas. There's one of the sitting areas. They had a breakfast room, and you had to keep the door closed. There was the door. It had some packaged donut kind of meal things, nothing hearty or savory. It was all very sweet. And then they did have coffee. Even though I had bought coffee and I had prepared to make coffee in my room, even if I had to make it in one cup at a time, but they had coffee that we could prepare in that little kitchen area. And then here's a tour of our room. You can see the bathroom is really nice, and everything's brand new. And the bed, it's a full bed, but that didn't bother us. We're used to a queen bed. That did not bother us. And you could see the view out the window. Looking into an area, actually, they were building more of the shipping container hotel rooms. And there's the little road, and it was a gated area. I highly recommend this Airbnb place. You can find it by looking at their name in Puerto Rico. The service was exceptional, everything we needed. They were lovely people, lived nearby. And there was a sitting area, there's another sitting area, and a third sitting area over there. Rained again. We did have some awning. We were in the rainforest. Go figure. It was raining while we were there. We really enjoyed this. I actually had us going somewhere else on the third night, but I canceled it and we extended our stay because we enjoyed this area so much. Well, since I canceled our reservation for the next evening, it wouldn't have been in this area. We decided to just kind of wing it the next day, and we went to, well, just a little bit ways around, about 20 to 30 minutes around the coast. So the next day we were at Playa El Crater, and it seemed to be a state park.
It is a wonderful walk. It was paved the whole way in the area we went. The views were spectacular. There's a lake, there's the shore, amazing vegetation and topography to see. And this is the crater. And we enjoyed a snack. We took out our trash with us, by the way. If you hike in, there's no trash cans, there's no bathrooms, there's nothing, but there is a paved walkway. I assume it's so golf carts can get people up that direction. This is a lookout area that's a utility building, and then on the back they have a railed area to look out on the coast. And it is gorgeous. And it was a beautiful but windy day, and our hike was about 3 miles and just right amount. It was windy. Here is some of the coastline we saw. Now, they do have a protected area that is beach. I did not get some film of. I don't know why. Many families were at it, and it was the only beach we saw the whole trip that it was calm enough you could actually take your children in. Obviously, it's not this area of the beach. So we had a lovely walk and got to see an area we hadn't planned on seeing. There's so much to see and do in Puerto Rico that to not take advantage of their diverse topography and the different types of coastlines within just an hour drive of the airport is just a little crazy not to take advantage of just branching out from San Juan and seeing so much more that they have to offer. With the extra windy weather the day before, in the early morning, we took off with our kayak tour guide, who not only talked about all of the animals and plants and the water system, but we got to talk a little bit about local politics. He is a quarter indigenous, and he's very proud of that. And we had a great time talking with him, and I got a little sunburn. Be sure and check where you end and start with your sunscreen. So we headed back to San Juan later that day because we wanted to spend a few days in a different area. And we had a second Airbnb. This is our courtyard. It's really nice, a lovely neighborhood. I think that this is a gentrified up and coming area, and this person has probably purchased as an investment. And nothing wrong with it, but our neighbors had much posher digs. Not every house, but some of them. And this was a very nice, good Wi-Fi, great TV, great air conditioning, good kitchen. Really, we enjoyed this Airbnb very much. And it was a gated community. So there was a gate out to the beach, about a block and a half. And we spent a lot of time over a couple of days there at the beach. They provided beach chairs, an umbrella, and there was also a grocery store a couple of blocks the other direction outside the gate. So we really didn't eat out while we were at this location. We made some lovely meals, bought some deli food at the grocery, had a really good, just peaceful beach sitting couple of days. And sometimes that's what you need, just to veg out on the beach. There were families. We enjoyed watching the children, people watching in general. We walked the neighborhood quite a bit. When we travel to other non-American areas, although this is very American, don't get me wrong at all, but we like to really see their grocery stores, experience their local fruits and veggies, talk with the deli market area folks about what their favorite foods are, perhaps not just the Americanized foods in the deli, but things that other people eat on the regular that we don't get to experience. And we did that during these couple of days while we were in San Juan. The first few days in San Juan were all about the colonial area and the touristy. This was really about a holiday weekend kind of experience. And the weather was great with the beach, as you can see, both days. And we stuck to the shade, as you can see here, because I got that little bit of sunburn when I was kayaking. And that literally was just me missing areas on my ankles from my spraying of my sunscreen. Something to remember when you are experiencing a lovely beach holiday and you've been in the wintertime. As we wrapped up our stay, we went back into the colonial area to hit a portion that we had not seen on our first few days, and that was the area of the governor's house and the park area and the walled area on the far corner of the colonial area on the top, on the upper level, away really from the battlements. Oh my gosh, the sailboats, the views. We spent a day getting some steps in. This is a piece of artwork that represented um, the town folks keeping pirates at bay. But just the sheer beauty that day, it just very striking. There were 7 of these cruise ships, but they were loading and unloading their groups very slowly on a schedule, so they didn't inundate. But when they loaded up everyone and shipped them off, the restaurants were nearly empty, and this is a tapas restaurant that we enjoyed very much. We knew we had to fly out, and we knew the weather was going to be bad back in the Midwest, but little did we know how bad. It was a raging blizzard, and we were not happy having to come back from the tropics into a raging blizzard. But that was the end of our amazing trip to Puerto Rico, and I'm really glad you got to see a little bit of what I saw in this lovely, lovely Commonwealth of America.